Welcome back, everybody, to Beards, Books, and Bourbon. I'm Stephen.
I'm Mark.
And we have an incredibly special guest with us this evening for one of our interview episodes, a very close and dear friend of mine, as well as a master collector of the liquid that we revel in on each episode here on Beards, Books, and Bourbon. We are welcoming this evening to the show Landon Borders, director of the Estate Whiskey Alliance in the University of Kentucky in Kentucky, United States of America. We are excited to have you here tonight, Landon. Welcome. There is not another Kentucky that I'm aware of.
Okay, I just, maybe I didn't know. Maybe there's a Kentucky, New Zealand or something.
We're very glad to have you tonight, Landon. Welcome to the show.
Hey, so glad to be here, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Stephen, as always, it's great to see you, man. And Mark, pleasure to meet you. I'm excited about this. I've been listening to some of your guys' episodes. I love the format. I love your guys, what you bring to the show, and just really looking forward to diving in here.
Awesome. And I'm going to hand it over to you in a minute for like a full-blown introduction. But our bourbon this evening that we are featuring on the show that both Landon and we have in our possession at the moment, we'll tip it off.
Yes. Tonight's bourbon is Maker's Mark Cask Strength Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, made for the brave in honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Batch number 2601, 110.5 proof. Don't keep an open flame anywhere near it.
That's right.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this later.
And what batch do you have down there on your bottle there, Landon?
Yeah, same. Made for the brave. 110 proof, cast strength. We've got a cute match here between bottles. I love their cast strength. If you guys have ever been to Star Hill Farm and Maker's Mark Distillery, you'll know that it's an amazing place. Love the team down there. They are awesome to work with, and looking forward to sampling this with you guys.
That's one of the things that we haven't done yet. We have not, we've been doing this for 6 years now. We have not gone down the bourbon trail and check anything out.
That's a goal.
Together as a show.
That's a goal. I've been to the bourbon trail with you, my friend, when we visited shortly after COVID ended, I believe, or right around that time when we were down there, and you took me to a few places, and that was good. I believe we were at Maker's Mark. I know we were at Weller. I know we were at not Weller. What is the other one with the copper looking bottle? Willett. We were at Willett. And a couple, we were at Bardstown. We went to Bardstown.
Bardstown bourbon.
Yeah, and a couple others. So we need to get down there.
Yeah, I mean, I've smelled like the bourbon trail. Every now and then, but
we regularly smell like the bourbon trail.
But I've never actually been there.
It's all good. It's all good. Landon, introduce yourself for the listeners of the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself first off, and then give us just a little bit of a background of the Estate Whiskey Alliance, because that is your role now and has been your role for a number of years, and that is what we're featuring on the show. What is the Estate Whiskey Alliance, and why does it matter? What is its role in the world of bourbon and distillery and all that good stuff? So a little intro and then a little explanation of the Estate Whiskey Alliance.
Yeah, happy to do that. And, again, appreciate you having me on here. It's been an amazing journey for me. Landon Borders, I'm born and raised in Kentucky. Went to the University of Kentucky and got an engineering degree, an electrical engineering degree. Got into product development, doing all sorts of fun things, consumer electronics, B2B products, and so forth. But after about 20 years of doing that, I said, look, I'm ready for something different. And there was an opportunity to come here back to my alma mater at the University of Kentucky within our innovation team. So we support the research enterprise, entrepreneurship programs, and economic development initiatives for the state of Kentucky. And I said, why not? Let's go do it. We'll create something new. And when I got here, soon after that, I learned about this opportunity, about this very important category of whiskey that has been traditionally largely undefined. I think we have amazing assets here and capabilities at the University of Kentucky. This is the home of the James B. Beam Institute. which is the largest academic and research facility in the world, distillery in the world. So we have amazing folks here on campus that have been doing a lot of great research in the spirits industry, lots of great programs for students, certificate programs, and so forth. So that's just to say that we have a lot of great connections with the spirits industry. Of course, Kentucky is the home of bourbon, one of our only national spirits here in the United States. And after I got here, I learned from some of our partners about this category, and they said, "Look, you guys have amazing resources. You guys are accustomed to transferring technologies out of the university and trademarks, copyrights, and this type of thing. Why don't you help us define this category and put together some sort of certification program as a trusted third party?" And we started looking into it, said, why not? This makes a lot of sense to us. And for me and my background, I mentioned as a product developer and engineer, I've been involved with a lot of standards development, a lot of compliance and certification programs, a lot of consortia. So I said, look, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right, and this needs to be a true member involved and engaged alliance, a consortium of sorts. So that's where the idea of the Estate Whiskey Alliance was born, and it's been going on rocket fuel since then. So it's been amazing just to start with an unmet need from our partners. And a very important, a project here that's really blossomed into now a multi-member. I think we just added our 19th member to the alliance, and now with a full-fledged certification program. So we're really excited about that, and looking forward to really diving into some of the things that we're up to.
So I love that. So let me circle to something you just said too, because I know that we've talked about this a little bit just in our casual conversation as friends. But then when with the birth of the Estate Whiskey Alliance, when somebody looks at the term estate whiskey, right? What is that? What was the impetus behind that? What was the creation of that? What need that you mentioned in your opening statement there? What need is it serving? How does it set you apart then as an advocate for one of the only national spirits that we have here in the United States? So give us a little sense of that estate whiskey term.
He has one question for you in 17 parts.
That's right. And Landon knows me well, and he knows that my questions come out in multitudes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to answer question 1A here, and it's a fantastic question. The need here was there's a lot of amazing farm distilleries, and before the show we were just talking about a few, and I'm excited to talk about some that maybe some of your listeners aren't aware of. But they have decided that the best way to produce whiskey is to really control all facets of the operation, and that starts on the farm. It starts in the field. And people talk a lot about barrels and the importance of barrels and aging and oak and the expressions of whiskey products, but arguably that is one important part of it. But to our members and to our researchers at the University of Kentucky, we know that grains are very much influential on aromatic and flavor profiles of these products. And I mentioned detail. I think what our members really believe in is that control of the entire process is essential to really creating these new complex layers of not only the product itself, but the entire experience. If you go to any of these Estate Whiskey Alliance members and you get on their farms and you really meet with the farmers and you get to understand how much important it is to them to preserve and conserve their land and to take good care of it, and all the details that they put into their growth cycles and harvest and how they dry their grains and so forth. I mean, it's truly remarkable, and I've seen it, and I've experienced it, and I truly believe that terroir is an expression we use, and of course that comes from the wine country and term used there, but we believe terroir also applies to whiskey. And so that's the precipice. Now, the problem that our members were really running into is that, people make a lot of claims. A lot of
Yep.
people were starting to use like grain to glass and some of these terms to describe their products. But and so things get confusing. And over the last, call it 7 or 8 years, there's been a huge proliferation of brands on the shelf in the stores and so forth. And they realize that, hey, their effort and their way of creating this amazing product is getting lost in the fold, and they wanted to really invest in in transparency to the consumer, and they thought the best way to do that is with the Estate Whiskey Alliance, to have a kind of a third party, unbiased and trusted source to validate claims and to use a mark on the bottle, a certification mark of sorts, to really differentiate themselves from some of the other products that are out there that aren't taking this approach
Right.
to growing their grains and to producing everything there on the estate.
Sure. But in the meantime, their marketing departments are using the same language that they know will resonate with consumers. And so they're not necessarily, advertising true to form.
Yeah, I mean, some are. I mean, but here's the thing, I'm not a knock on some of the other products out there, the ways that other distilleries do things. I love all sorts of whiskeys, but I think this is very special, and I think it is deserving of a real differentiated mark to convey the level of transparency and the methodology that goes into creating whiskeys that are truly from the estate.
Oh,
So we
sure.
could really get behind that. But of course, we see more opportunity than that, right? We've really engaged our members in a number of ways, and I think another very important part of what we do is research. So we are a non-for-profit organization. We reinvest, things that our incomes from memberships and certifications back into the organization. And one of the
Yep.
ways that we do that is through research. So we get our members involved. We have a research and education committee, and we get our researchers involved, our students involved in a number of ways. And we say, look, what could we do, and what kind of challenges do you have that we could solve for through research and student engagement? So that is a huge value add to our members, because there is so much opportunity for research in this area, in grain varietals, growing methodology, soil conservation, and in terroir, and evidencing the existence of terroir in whiskey making. So that is another element of what we do that really kind of brings it all together with the university, our researchers, our students, and with and for our members.
I think that so in terroir, and we had this conversation too about terroir with Joe O'Sullivan out at Minden Mill, right? And as you mentioned, terroir is long historically part of the powerful wine industry, whether it be, and in fact the term itself originates in the French wine industry and then kind of trickles through all the different iterations
Yep.
of wine now that have become popular in California, Australia, wherever you get your wine from, Argentina, so on and so forth. And what was really, really interesting with Joe, similar to what you said a moment ago, Landon, is that idea of actually having everything from literally from the moment that you know what the soil is going to be like in the farm that you have access to with him, he was also talking about the local water sources, whether it's coming directly from the mountains that are located immediately surrounding the distillery, or even the water table, like the aquifers that are in the region that are researched and well known, that might be flowing from the underground spots or whatever, to the growing of the grains, to the space in which to the space in which the rick houses are created, to the space in which
to what you're growing in the off season.
What you're growing in the off season, yeah, and to the trucks you use, to the positioning of the sun that you get, whatever within the terroir itself, and it's an incredible, I think, win for the whiskey industry to have that label as something that's there, right?
Well, it's interesting to me because the way that you're talking, it sounds a little bit like terroir was not something that was accepted. I mean, am I wrong about that? And the reason why I mentioned it simply is because 1,000 years ago, when I was in college, I worked for a major coffee conglomerate, and I went through a 2-week training course where all they did was teach us about terroir in the coffee industry,
right?
About where the varietals come from, how that affects the different flavors and whatnot. And so, if you pick up 2 different bottles of bourbon from 2 different labels and you try one and try the other, there's a differentiation in flavor, and there's reasons why.
100%. Yeah, that's 100% true, and that's our thesis, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think people realize this, and it's in other food and beverage categories, not only wine but coffee, and you get that, like you see Starbucks kind of leaning into that, and the various beans that they're offering, and the various ways that they're roasting those products and so forth. But I think our members and our researchers truly believe in provenance, quality of product, and environmental stewardship, and those are huge, huge part of our ethos and what we believe in. But you've also hit another point there, and that is it's not entirely understood by folks, and not everyone agrees with this viewpoint that there is an expression of terroir in whiskey making. I think, and I think that if we roll back the hands of time, this is how it started, right? It's folks were growing, corn and barley and rye and so forth on their farm and distilling locally. And over time and through the Industrial Revolution, it became more of a industrial process, and folks are buying yellow dent, corn in bulk from elevators and so forth, just to meet the demand and the volume. And we kind of got away from our origins and how we were producing this product originally. And I think over time, what we started to see, and what we see a lot with a lot of our members, is a lot of these grain farmers were saying, look, we love growing grains, but we need to diversify our revenues a little bit. So a lot of our members started as large grain farms, just like Whiskey Acres down there in DeKalb, close to you guys. And, and in that case, they said, look, let's see what happens if we integrate vertically and we put this distillery together. And then here we are. I think we're seeing a proliferation of this type of estate farm and estate practice all over the world, which we love. And I mentioned research. We have student fellows that work with us, do all sorts of research. We actually built a map of all of the distilleries around the world that have some sort of claim of being like locally sourced grains or estate grown grains, and there's a lot of them out there. So we're excited about that, and I think it's evidenced in our growth over the last, just 2 years that we've been in existence. Not even that, not even 2 years. So anyway, that's a little bit of background, and to answer question 1A, Stephen, why it matters to our members and the problem that it's solving for.
Thank you. Landon and I have served on a board together, and he's aware of sometimes my I don't know, loquacious conversation pieces, I guess, is something, I guess. Something that my wife tends to be like, all right, you need to be quiet now, Stephen, just be quiet. So well, let's talk a little bit about the certification process. That seems to segue into that. And then I kind of have a couple questions about the kind of the science versus tradition part of bourbon distilling. But But what can you talk about the certification process that the Estate Whiskey Alliance? Can you share a couple of the steps that they go through, or at least something that you can share in public?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I want to start with the fact that that there was no standard for this originally. There was a need, but no standard, and that was part of the process. And we realized that we needed to come together and align on a definition. What does this even mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember some of the early conversations we had with distillery, and we were talking about, hey, we're forming this Estate Whiskey Alliance. We think you would be a good partner to have here. And they were like, what does estate whiskey mean? And we were like, good question. We'll get back to you on that.
Right.
But it all started with it all started with the definition, and it started with our founding members. So we had, I mentioned, having a strong connection with the community in and around this area and even beyond. And it started with our founding members of Black Fox Farm and Distillery, Heaven Hill, Hill Rock up in New York, Maker's Mark, Peterson Farms here in Kentucky, Thousand Acres, which is a brand new distillery, and then Western Kentucky Distilling.
Yep.
And along with our advisors and partners with the James B. Beam Institute, we aligned through some difficult conversations on what the definition really is for estate whiskey. And for us, it's 2/3 of all grains used in production of the whiskey product must come from estate owned or controlled land. So we thought 2/3 was a pretty high threshold, and why not 100%, right? Well, we wanted to set a high bar, but we also wanted to acknowledge that some of these distilleries have complex mash bills and include certain grains that don't grow in certain areas. So barley is not one of the best crops that we have here in Kentucky, but we can grow rye and corn all day. Meanwhile, up in your neck of the woods, you can grow a lot more grains up there. But so 2/3 of the grains come from estate owned or controlled land, and that all production processes happen there on the estate. And as simple as that. And we tried to thread the needle there because we had started with this big list of things that pertaining to sustainability and water conservation and all these other things. And I had a really dear friend of mine and somebody that I admire a lot. His name is Bill Samuels Jr. and he's the for Maker's Mark fame. So I credit Bill with a lot of the marketing breakthroughs that were made and really revived the bourbon industry years ago, and some of the things that he did with the ambassador program and so forth. But he said, Landon, what you need to do is you got to keep it simple. Like, set a high bar, but it needs to be something that people understand. The consumers can really get behind, and you don't have a lot of time to really, burden them with this long definition and thing. So we said, okay, there's 2 requirements then. That's it. But Stephen, that's not what you asked for. You asked about the certification program.
But that's
so I want to start with how we aligned.
I kept my question short because Mark over here is making fun of me regularly. But
I mean,
also
it's kind of my job on the show.
but also that's fascinating because for Mark and I, who are just super interested in the idea of terroir and the idea of the estate whiskey, we get different information. We get the information from Joe was on the side of the distiller, and to hear some of those requirements there are just fascinating as well. So
we love to go down the rabbit hole on stuff like this, but I totally understand what you're saying, that you've got to be able to reach every consumer who's interested in the product, and so the message has to be very simple and very clear. That makes complete sense to me.
100%. So once we had to start there, and then we also engaged our members on building a certification program that is thorough and robust. But we also wanted to create criteria and processes that were aligned with their everyday practices. So in other words, my experience in product development world is that, okay, if you create a standard and you ask a manufacturer in this case to change the way they do things, then it's not going to work. It's going to result in or perhaps even more errors or missteps and so forth. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
important for us to kind of hit the trail, to meet with our partners, to understand how they operate, and to create a program that really kind of met the high bar that we set, but to also be as thorough as possible in our evaluation. So it starts with becoming a member. Becoming a member gives access to a number of things. I mentioned the research and education, to influence that work, to get involved with the researchers. We run experiments on farms at the estates with our partners. So we love that about that. But to also get access to marketing and marketing materials. We just looked at our impressions on Estate Whiskey Alliance related articles over these past few months, and they're over 250 million. So, that's really exciting to us that we have done, in my view, we've kind of overachieved based on my expectations in terms of our reach and how many
Yeah.
Yeah.
people are reading about the Estate Whiskey Alliance. But the third one, and this is where I'm going, is we have a certification committee that helps us originally form this process. You become a member, you can get involved in these committees, but it starts with an application. We need to know about the product. We need to understand the label. We need to understand. We ask for a lot actually. We understand. We want to know the map, like where's the distillery? Show us where
Yep.
the plots are. Where's the land? Where are you growing? Tell us about the grain varietals, your labels, and so forth. So we ask for a lot of upfront information, assuming that there's no issues there. That triggers a site visit. So either myself or my colleague Alexa Norell, she's the associate director and really the person that's running the day to day for us. We'll do the site evaluation. We'll come. We'll do some audits. What we're looking for is certainly eyeballs on the plots, the land where the grains are grown. We're looking for storage locations. We want to make sure that we understand chain of custody with the grains.
Hmm.
We want to know that if there's a state certified product and non-estate certified product, that there's good segregation strategies, that they're not mixing the grains and so forth. And then we need to see the production processes, and we want to understand how they are maintaining quality control of the process to meet this criteria. If there's something that goes off track, if they're having a bad season and they are running low on estate whatever rye in their mash bill and they have to source it, then that should trigger a communication to us so that we can have a conversation on how to reconcile. So we do the whole site audit, the site evaluation. I should mention this. I should have mentioned this earlier, but the University of Kentucky owns the trademarks. So we own the trademarks for Estate Whiskey Alliance as well as Estate Whiskey Certified.
Huh.
So the
Nice.
Alliance mark can be used by any of our members on anything that's not a whiskey product. The certification mark itself is reserved only for certified products and can
Huh.
only be used on certified products.
Right.
So if they've gone through this process, they've met all the criteria, they've answered our questions, and we are ready to certify them, we issue them a license to use the mark on the bottle for a particular edition or a batch or some finite amount, so that is meeting the criteria for Estate Whiskey Certified. So then they put it on the bottle, and our hopes are to see more whiskey products on the shelf, and that when folks are walking down the aisle at their local store, that they see this estate invisible Estate Whiskey Certified mark on the back
Yeah,
of
there,
their
there it is.
bottle.
Yeah, there it is. And I
Uh,
saw that in the
that
picture that you sent to me. Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, that's a complex process from start to finish. How long does that typically take?
Yeah, it's a good question. It depends on how hard it is to kind of schedule time with these folks. Alexa does the brunt of the paperwork and review. But I mentioned her, but we've got a whole team at University of Kentucky and at UK Innovate, the office that I work in, and that are handling the contracting side, the intellectual property, just the invoicing, the billing, and things of those nature. So there's a whole team behind us that really supports that. But we could typically get something turned around in about 2 months. or
Okay.
less, depending on how
Yeah.
hard it is to reach them and schedule the site visit. So,
I
you
mean,
know,
that's a pretty fast turnaround,
we're
honestly.
Yeah.
yeah, it is, and you know, but it's you know, the first one was the hardest one, but
Yeah.
now we've got I think there's over 14 certified products, and we've got well, there's more than that, but some of them are embargoed currently, and I can't talk about them until
Yes.
they launch. But and there's more that are in queue and on their way. So you know, we're super excited about that. I should also mention, you know these are tough times. I'll say for you know certainly the whiskey industry.
Yep.
I think they have been on such a growth trajectory. You know, certainly through COVID and beyond, and I feel like there's kind of a correction in the market right now. But
Hmm.
I feel like our members have really are riding that wave and are actually prospering. Like they, you know, they're doing really well, and the alliance has actually grown here just recently as well. We've just brought on another distillery up in Cambridge, Vermont, called Boyden Valley Winery and Spirits. So they're in
Oh.
very early stages in their estate process. You know, they see that the value in getting involved with us as they start this journey and to take advantage of our resources and to help them, you know, kind of develop their you know products so that they are certified. Starlight Distillery in Borden, Indiana, just joined us, and they're
So
an
I saw
amazing
those bottles.
farm distillery.
Yeah, those bottles we have here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to pick up those bottles.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe I'm you know talking a little bit out of school here, but you know I don't know that we've made an announcement yet, so don't tell anybody, listeners. Uh,
Right, right.
and but
We're
one that
only
we
going to
have
share
announced
it's
recently.
between the two of us, you, and the rest of the world, so it's fine.
That's right.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And then the one that we're also really excited about because it's a real milestone for us is Ballindollick Distillery in Scotland. So we've now
Ah,
expanded from you know Canada and the U.S. now into Scotland. So we're really
I
excited
love
to have
that.
them on board. Yeah. In fact, we had a whole class. We had a class of students that were there and have been traveling there this summer, and they're working on some projects for those guys. So it's really cool to have that connection between the university, our researchers, our faculty, staff, and students, and our partners like this. So really cool program, man. I can't believe that I'm doing this.
Stephen and I would like to volunteer to be sent to Scotland as taste testers on behalf of the Estate Whiskey Alliance.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah, well,
too.
this could be
You know,
conversation for a later time. Obviously, we cannot join as members of the Estate Whiskey Alliance, but we can certainly be the official podcast of the Estate Whiskey Alliance. If that is something that you keep in the back of your head,
yeah,
my
that,
friend, you know, as we grow,
yeah,
we'll be, you know, happy to interview everybody and kind of burst out there into the world.
Right. Someday we'll
yeah,
start,
you know, and I would be. I wish I could sign you guys up for that, but you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Carl Agner. He's our marketing manager. So I
I
mentioned
see that on
the
here.
impressions, and you know, we do a lot of copy. We do or you know do a lot of
Yep.
articles. We do a lot of
Yep.
these podcasts too. But Carl is really the driving force there, and we really appreciate his help. So that's just to say, I'll need to run that by Carl.
We need to
To see what he thinks of it.
we need to get Carl on the show then too as well, because that
Right.
would be a lovely
That's
interview
right.
as well. Yeah.
He would love that.
That
Yeah,
would be
exactly.
super cool. That would be super
Exactly.
cool. Like, do you so you know, uh, it just sounds like and I'm loving this because even in our friendship, you know, what you've talked to me about, this show is allowing us to go a lot deeper than even I was aware of in some of our conversations. And so, I mean, you mentioned briefly that you know the whiskey and bourbon industry is hitting on some tough times, and you hear that all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of times where Mark and I will go to the store and you'll see a you know an end of bin clearance items, or we follow a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different distilleries and there'll be posts here and there that are like, oh gosh, this is now, $10 for this, and we
Right.
can't get this anymore.
Or some distilleries that have fallen on hard times,
Yeah.
financial troubles of one form or another.
Right, right. It certainly sounds like the Estate Whiskey Alliance is positioned to be that bridge from the tough times to, kind of not a rebirth, because I don't think there's anything. I don't think the industry is dying, but I do think that it sounds like the Estate Whiskey Alliance is positioned to be that advocate, to be that voice
Yeah.
as they weather some of that tough time. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't give. I mean, it's not. Well, I'd like to take a little bit of credit for what we've done, but really, it's we're just a megaphone. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
amplifying the work that's going on here at the distilleries and with our distillery partners. I think we're really, we really want to educate people on the importance of estate practices and really open their eyes to the added dimensions of the overall whiskey experience. I mean, you talk to somebody about bourbon or whiskey, and they're like, "Okay, well, tell me about the mash bill," and they're like, "Well, that's a cool bottle," or "Where's it from?" And that's then they taste it, and they're like, "Well, there's some caramel and vanilla and oak and blah 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 blah." But the added dimensions that I'm referring to are like, tell me about the farm. All right. What grain varietals do you have? So if
Yeah.
you go to our website and you check out the certified products list, you're going to learn a lot
Yep.
more about the product. You're going to learn about the grain varietals, the percentage of estate grains in a bottle. You're going to learn about who the master distiller was. You're going to learn about the farms. So, we're helping. We're just cracking that door open a little bit to really help consumers understand that there's so much more to this product and these stories. You guys talk about stories all the time, right? Well, the story of whiskey is so fascinating. And we are, for me personally, I love the farming aspect and acknowledging whiskey as an agricultural product. It is.
Yep.
Everything about it is agricultural. And without the grains, without the oak and without the people, it doesn't exist. So I love telling that story. I love amplifying the work that our partners are doing. It's that work that they're doing and really differentiating themselves from other options on the shelf. And certainly by getting people to the farm to see this firsthand, to walk in the fields, to hold a handful of rye or whatever, triticale or something in your hand and say, wow, this is where it starts. So we love that.
Yeah, when Stephen and I first started talking about the idea of reaching out and trying to interview distillers and producers of one form or another, it was really kind of going back to the idea that for the last 5 years we've been talking about the stories that we love, and that we felt that there were stories to be told just within the liquid itself and what we've been sampling for all these years, and that has been the case with every single interview that we have done, from Chicken Cock to Minden Mill to Still Austin to Koval to Filmland Spirits. There's every bottle seems to have its own story.
Yep.
And when we had the conversation with Joe O'Sullivan from Minden Mill, that estate story is very distinct, and there's not to pun this too much, but there are some really great roots in the idea of estate distilling and the story behind it.
That was a good one.
Thank you. Do I get a point for that?
You get a point for that one.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's well played there. I've had the privilege. I've had the privilege of going to Minden Mill and meeting with Joe, and it's just, that is an amazing geography out there in Nevada. Nevada. Joe would correct me.
Nevada.
Yeah, but the Minden Valley is right there at the basin of Lake Tahoe, and the runoff is really what drives that entire farm and that valley. And you go there and you've got these beautiful mountains. Lake Tahoe is like 2,000 feet above your head.
Yep, right.
Which is a little nerve-wracking. But then you see their fields, the farms there are just so vast, and the soil it's just absolutely amazing. You're in the middle of the desert basically, and you have like this rich loam that they're growing just basically any grain they want. Like between and if you drive down the road, you'll get to Frey Ranch that's
Yep.
in
Yep.
Fallon,
Yep.
and the Freys there, Colby Ashley, they're amazing. Same thing. So they also get some of that runoff from Lake Tahoe, and they have these massive grain farms. And in Freys, they've vertically integrated too, and I love what they've done there. I mean, if anybody's listening, you get a chance to go out there, you gotta stop at Minden Mill and Frey Ranch and talk to those guys and just experience it for yourself. You'll get it. I especially love what Frey Ranch has done, where they're all these guys are like super innovative. You don't realize, like, some of the most innovative people in the world are farmers, hands down. And I've been around a lot of innovative people, and I'm around innovative people all day for my day job. Really smart people, but farmers are some of the most innovative. So they're always experimenting, they're always trying new things, and I love that about our members and the folks that we work with. But Colby and Ashley have done some cool stuff where they've done like single grains, and it's not to go, make a ton of money on it. It's to really help people tease out the influence of the grains on their products, and they can take you through this whole. They have like 100% oat whiskey product, for example, right? Have you ever had that before? 100% wheat or 100%, yeah. So you can like go through and taste the differences, and then you can start to pick it out when you try some of their blended stuff. So that's just an amazing experience, right? You go from the fields to the sampling room, tasting room, and they can kind of step you through that. So, but that's the case for a lot of our members. They all have these really unique experiences, these farm experiences. You see these things firsthand, and I just love that. I mean, it's one thing to visit a distillery, but it's another thing to kind of get out there and see where it comes from.
Visit the land, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We should probably taste the bourbon at this point, because we got down this rabbit hole with you, and
You need a little more.
and I need a little more. So we're pouring here. If you've got your glass ready to go there, my friend, and go ahead. And
so we're going.
We're going in on
it.
Mark will
Brand new.
reintroduce it.
Here we go.
All right, we'll reintroduce it.
Yeah. What kind of glasses you guys going with there? Let's see.
So here we go. So we now
guys
have a shop, Landon. We've got a shop. So it's our Beards, Books, and Bourbon Glencairn glasses.
Yes.
So
yeah. So I'm going with my James B. Beam Institute.
yes,
glass.
Nice.
very good, very good,
Perfect.
very good.
Perfect. All right. Oh, let me put the.
Yeah. Now I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Maker's Mark is one of our founding members, and also
Yes.
great members. And in the Star Hill Farm whiskey is their newest product, the first new product in decades, and it is estate whiskey certified. So if anybody out there is lucky enough to find the bottle, definitely grab it.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Okay, what are we doing?
All
All
right.
right, go ahead, Mark.
Tonight's bourbon is Maker's Mark Cask Strength, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, handmade, made for the brave, batch number 26-01, 110.5 proof. And on the back, we've got, it's Maker's Mark, but a little over the top. That first taste says it all. Our cask strength bourbon is the boldest expression of Maker's Mark to date. Bottled at barrel proof, it's remarkably full-flavored, yet still smooth and refined, thanks to the soft red winter wheat we have used since the beginning. At any distillery, a cask-strength whiskey straight from the barrel is the truest reflection of who you are and what you do. Here at Maker's Mark, this is who we are, and we're pretty damn happy about it.
It's all you need from Maker's Mark. It's a classic one, that's for sure. And I picked this bottle up recently at the local spot here. Came highly recommended by the lady who was giving the tasting, and here we go.
There we go.
Cheers, my friend.
All right. Cheers.
Oh, that's good.
I love the cask strength stuff. We have a Still Austin.
Oh, 1,000%.
We just picked up the Still Austin cask strength recently, and it is brilliant. I love it. It's so good. We've got another one in here too, don't we? Somewhere in our collection.
We've got a ton. Some of them we have finished.
Some of them we have finished. We were making an infinity bottle as well as we speak. But this one is good. It's rich for me. It's a deep flavor.
I mean, it is velvety smooth. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It is velvety smooth. I totally agree. And I've really grown into the wheated whiskeys and the wheated bourbons, just for that reason. I fell in love with this too. We're probably talking about this before the show, but just being there at Star Hill Farm and being on the tour there and sampling right out of the cask. I remember Alexa and I were down there for the first time, and I had never had their cask strength anything or sampled right out of the cask, and I was like, wow. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
I was glad to see when they started bottling their cask strength because I think it's a remarkable product and one of my favorites, honestly.
Well, I think that cask strength also
Definitely get some of the vanilla tones here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the great things about cask strength is that like the bottle says, it really creates a bold expression of that flavor, right?
100%. You get all of it, right? And they've done a great job. Really like working with these guys. Rob, I think, has done a remarkable job as he's kind of stepped in to run the show down there. But also Blake Layfield. Credit to Blake. I think he's the master distiller now and kind of head of innovation. And I think he was kind of one of the driving forces behind Star Hill, obviously with Rob and Bill Jr. But they're all just amazing people to work with. They're just good people. They want to do good things. They are very much focused around sustainability and being good stewards of the land down there in their neck of the woods in Loretto, Kentucky. So just love working with them, and it's always good to know that there's really good people behind really good products.
I love that. And I love the fact, too, that I think one of the things that we've noticed just in our own exploration of bourbon, I mean, mind you, and I've probably told you this before, maybe when we were together at the conference, when we started this, we started this podcast during the pandemic or during COVID, right?
Right.
And we were looking for something, our families are close friends and Mark has 3 kids, and of course I do. And we were
we were in a pod.
You were in a pod, you were in your little health pod, right? Your little circle of people that you knew were not, infected or whatever, and we both read voraciously and we love bourbon, and we were meeting in your backyard for, a few months where we were just talking about books, and you had a bottle of bourbon and a fire and all this kind of stuff. And we're like, pandemic hits and we're like, let's see what we're going to do here and see if anybody's going to listen to us. And sure enough, they're listening to us.
And it slowly grew. It started off that we'd get together around the fire and we would talk about a book that we're both reading at the same time. Right. And we would have like a bottle. And then slowly it was, now we've got 2 bottles out there we got something to choose from. And eventually
that's how it starts, Mark.
That's right. And then it turned into that I had like a folding table out there and I've got like 15 different bottles lined up.
I mean, we don't have all the bottles because they're gone, and we track it now on an app. But I think we're at 197 bottles.
Something like that. We're at a lot of bottles.
There's no need
impressive.
to
That's
share
impressive.
that with Sarah, and there's no need to get that back to Denise in any way, shape,
That's
or form.
right. That's right.
But
that's just our little secret.
That's right.
Just the 3 of us in the world.
And my point is too, like when we started it, when we started the podcast, if you go back and listen to episodes 1 through 5, this bourbon
tastes so bourbony.
It tastes really bourbony. That was the level of our ability to understand it. And one of the things that really, really stuck out to us when Bespoke and Spirit partnered with the Joubert Syndrome Foundation to do that bottle, and they sent us the tasting kit. And that was 5 years later, right? From when we started the episodes.
Our palates have changed.
Yeah, Landon. Even our own ability to research and to see and to like taste the different pieces to it. Not even being growers or distillers ourselves. It's a journey that we have enjoyed so much. And so one of the things that you just mentioned when you're talking about Maker's Mark, even with the cask strength, Maker's Mark has been around for a very long time, and yet they're continuing to give themselves opportunities to stay at some of the leading edge of bourbon distilling, right? Whiskey distilling, and
Oh yeah.
that's what I find fascinating about the wine industry, about the bourbon industry, about the whiskey industry. There's always something that's next,
So I get
you know.
I get vanilla and smoke, and in the middle, I'm getting like roasted almonds.
Yeah,
Something
I get
like
a
that.
nutty taste
Yeah.
to it, which is really nice. It's nice.
Yeah. And a little bit of spice, I
It
don't
is
know, if
nice.
it's cinnamon or something like that, but
I can tell you this now. Izzy is going to be 22 now in October, my friend. And I've mentioned this before on the show and to our listeners that my daughter has a rare condition, Joubert syndrome, and so does Landon's daughter. And we both share that as a commonality. We've been part of that foundation and that family community for a long time now. And Izzy does not like bourbon.
That's right.
I can tell you that right now. She's tried a couple sips, 20, 21 now, and she is not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan.
It's it's not for everybody.
No,
It's
Denise
just how
won't
it is.
touch the
But
stuff either.
yeah, Sarah doesn't like it.
No,
We haven't let Harper's only 13, so we haven't.
Yep.
We're gonna hold off. But I'm gonna guess that she's probably not a big fan either. But,
so let me share a quick story.
No,
if you don't mind me sharing a story about Harper, because Harper is Landon's daughter,
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely.
And Harper and Izzy share the same syndrome, different expressions of it, different gene expressions of it. Izzy's is the ARL13B, and Harper's is which one is hers?
CEP290.
CEP290. And
CEP290. Yep.
And when we first met all these years ago, now we first met in 2015 at the conference that was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is where we first met your family and became good friends. And then shortly thereafter, we were in it was 2013 in Minneapolis. 2015, then we were back in Chicago. And
yep.
And Harper didn't like me.
That's right. I forgot.
For an entire conference period, Harper would not give me any acknowledgement that I existed, that I was, and you, my friend, laughed through the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Now,
that was great. And for your listeners, your listeners need to understand that Stephen and Mark, I just don't know you as well, but Stephen is just an amazing person and just a good soul and really good to a lot of people. Really, and so everybody loves Stephen, right? And Harper also loves everybody.
Yes.
And she always makes friends with people, and for some reason, you've got somebody who just loves everybody and one of the nicest, kindest people on the planet, and it just didn't vibe. I don't know what happened.
Not at the beginning. Now, she's my best buddy.
Not now, best buds, all good, but not at the beginning.
I have a piece of her artwork hanging in my school classroom that she made for me the last time we saw her.
That's right.
And
I'm a crap person. That's how we balance each other out.
Excellent.
I'm an awful soul. I'm terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
we balance.
No,
that's true. That's not true.
I doubt that.
But yes. I'll add, because I mentioned something. So what's something, and I suppose you touched on this with the discussion of the estate requirements, the 2/3 and all that kind of stuff. What's something that stands out to you that's happening in whiskey production right now amidst all those things that you shared with us about the grains, about the estate, the terroir, everything? What's standing out right now is something really catching your eye as you see more and more people joining the Estate Alliance and your just knowledge of the business. What's standing out there for you?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any one thing that stands out. Of course, we talked about the headwinds. We talked about Estate Whiskey Alliance and the certification program as a differentiator. But as we're starting to grow, when you start something like this, you don't really know like what the attraction will be, what's the real value proposition to members. And we thought we kind of had a good understanding, but we're really starting to see people wanting to join because they want to get certified product. We're seeing
Mhm.
people that really want to join to get involved in the research. We have a new member, another new member that we just got their agreement today, and that'll be something that we'll be announcing soon. But
Ooh,
this
fun.
particular distillery is very experimental. They're doing a ton of cool stuff with corn and different corn varietals, and have aspirations for like breeding the perfect corn for whiskey making. So they're really attracted to the research aspects. And then there's people that really benefit a lot from the marketing side of things. So I mentioned the 250 million impressions, but in our first year, there were over 1 billion impressions. So
Wow.
imagine, and that, by the way, that's like 4 orders of magnitude more than what we expected. But that's a lot, and I think that's the maybe the one thing that has really caught me and gave me some pause here is just that's because people are interested in this. It really has caught their attention, and
Yeah.
that it takes a long time to kind of change consumer behavior, to educate and so forth. But I just can't be more pleased with the progress we've made, and that's largely attributed to the team that we have behind me, with me, at UK, and with the State Whiskey Alliance, and certainly Alexa Norell and the team there, but also the members. They're really bought into it. They're really hands on, rolling their sleeves up. So I think that's my answer. Two things. One is, we're finding that people are joining for all sorts of reasons, and that we've created the right value structure for them to kind of find their way. And then the just the eyeballs, the people that are reading about us, that are visiting the website, visiting our social media accounts and stuff, just to learn more. It tells me that there is definitely a lot of interest in what we're doing and in our mission.
So, and we certainly have taken advantage of that. I mean, certainly when we research things, I see articles. So we're hopefully our impressions are part of that billion impressions that you're getting on that research, because we as just amateurs, but more skilled amateurs now than we used to be.
Right.
Are loving the ability to dive into something that we really really enjoy. So like,
Well, wait. Before you dive in, to go off the backbone of Stephen's need to validate us at every given moment.
hey,
One of the things that we have explored over the last couple of years, and don't really know where to go. And I don't know, maybe this is something that we say for the Oops episode, but we have talked about in the past. We've seen things on the internet about like becoming like a bourbon steward or a whiskey steward or something like that. And I noticed, I went out to the University of Kentucky website, to the College of Agriculture, and I saw that you got certificates for brewing and
Yeah,
distilling. Um,
yeah, absolutely.
for a couple of old farts like us who are probably not going to go back to school
I
full
am
time,
not that old.
you are older than dirt. You owe Jesus a nickel.
Well,
That's how old you are.
that might be true.
Um,
That might be true.
so for the layman like us, but we want to be better educated and more informed.
Yeah.
Is there anything out there for us where we can go and we can get some type of a badge or a certification or something like that? Because as much as we started the podcast to
Love it.
really talk about books, and we love books and we love storytelling.
Yep.
But we also have fallen in love with the whiskey industry overall, and the story that it has to tell. And we would
Yeah,
we would love to be better communicators of that particular story.
Yep.
yeah. Well, of course, you kind of hit the nail on the head and I'm biased here, but the James B. Beam Institute, with the Martin Gedden College of Ag, Food and Environment at the University of Kentucky, man, like that's just top notch. Dr. Seth the Bolt is the director there, runs the program. He's also a good friend of mine. Alexa is my colleague that I mentioned. She is actually a product. She went one of the first students through that certificate program, and it served her well. She's worked in the wine industry, And before she joined us, she was at Wild Turkey. And, I think it's truly a cool way to kind of learn and get credentialed in this field. And I'll say there are plenty of non-traditional students that are working through this program. So, I would definitely, advise you check that out, look into it if you're really serious about that. There's also, we're Discus, the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States is one of our members, and we're members of Discus. They offer all sorts of, training programs there. I would encourage you to look into that. But I'll just say it's never too late, right? One of my colleagues at University of Kentucky, she's been working at UK for many, many years, and has gone back. She's in the certificate program now at the James B. Beam Institute. So really proud of her for doing that. But yeah, it's a great program, and we have all sorts of students that are attracted to that, and it's world class, man. I'm telling you, it's
well, I love the
we're very
thought of
fortunate
being a
to have,
non-traditional student. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think I've always been
back to school, right? Yeah.
We should probably, because
Come on
we're
down.
at
Plus we can hang out.
we can. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Is it all on site? Would we have to come down and do it?
Get a dorm room together?
We could get a dorm room.
I mean,
We could get a dorm room.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Listen, just let Sarah know that we'll be bunking with you guys for a few months. I'm sure it'll be fine.
As long as you've got 2 couches, we're
She'd
good.
love it. You guys come on. Yeah, we've got 2 couches. We even have an extra bed. We'll roll out the red carpet.
We'll be
Guys,
fine.
come on
We'll
down.
be fine. We'll be all right. We'll be all
I've
right.
got a tent. I can just pitch the tent in
pitch
your
the tent in the
backyard.
backyard, that's right.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's a nice time of year for that. Yeah.
Well, we should pay attention to the timing here because we want to make sure we respect. We know you've got a busy day tomorrow, I'm sure, and we're going to get to the Oops episode in a minute, but we're going to kind of start to wrap up the episode here. But we do. I mentioned this to you in our text. We are Beard's Books and Bourbon. So before we get to the segment of our show that's called Final Thoughts, can you share with us a favorite book or a story or an author that resonates with you, and maybe the book itself, or a little blurb?
Yeah.
On the spot.
I'll say, look, I'm an engineer, and so I've got not great reading comprehension skills. I can do the math, but I didn't really become a reader until after college, and I really resonate with kind of the science fiction and fantasy genres. I thought about this, and I just thought, well, I'll just tell you the last few books I read. Most recently, I went and read the Night of the Seven Kingdoms books by George R.R. Martin. I loved his Game of Thrones books, read all those.
Yes.
And when I saw that Night of the Seven Kingdoms was going to come out on HBO Max, I was like, I need to read these real quick. So they're short reads, loved them. I loved the storytelling there. And before that, I love Andy Weir. So I read Project Hail Mary. Once again, I'm motivated by movies and TV shows. I'm like, I got to read the book before it comes out. And I also really like Blake Crouch. So really
probably one of the most fabulous authors that we have read ever on the show. I got to go back and find which season it is. I'm developing a catalog of all our episodes, but it was in season 2 probably.
Dark Matter, Recursion, Run.
Recursion.
What else do we do?
Recursion. Recursion is probably in my top 5 books.
Recursion is great. Recursion is
so good.
Yep.
So good.
Good stuff. All right, cool. That's excellent. That satisfies the book portion of the show.
And I really like Andy Weir myself. I read The Martian and Project Hail Mary years before the movies came out. And I was very impressed on how the movies were able to kind of keep to the heart of those particular stories.
Yeah, they did. And I've heard that they're going to make an Artemis movie. Would be kind of up next. So that sounds pretty exciting to me. I would love to see that come to life on the big screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we are at the part of the show here where we ask for final thoughts. Final thoughts on what we've been talking about, final thoughts on the bourbon itself.
Yeah.
And we give the honor to the interviewee of the show to begin that process. So, Landon, what are some final thoughts you have for our listeners today?
Let's just start with the cast strength. Big fan. Love Maker's Mark. Love the team there. I would go. This is kind of in my rotation now, and I think it's a great value. Honestly, like I picked this up for $40 here in Lexington.
Yeah,
same.
And I think that is great value.
Yeah,
for what you get. So, I don't buy a lot of top shelf stuff. I'm still kind of a frugal guy. So I'm always after like, where's the best value? And this one's kind of hard to pass up. So, huge fan. I would definitely, I will continue to buy some of their cast strength products in the future.
Yeah.
Awesome. Final thoughts about
And then
the whiskey world and your world and everything. Yeah.
Hey, love it. I just it's an honor and privilege to sit in this seat and kind of lead this endeavor. But it doesn't happen without the people that make it work, the distilleries, the vision of our founding members and our partners to really see the future here and where this where the industry is going. And I hope we come back and we have a conversation here in another couple of years, and we've got 50 certified products, and we're members in 10, 15 countries, and that's what's going to happen, and I'm excited about that journey and where it takes us.
I love that.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Mark, on the bourbon and the conversation with Landon.
So over the years, we've had several conversations about what I have called mass market whiskeys, and then more solo, individual, artisanal kinds of labels, and from kind of a marketing standpoint, from a mass market standpoint, you want the product to have a consistency of flavor, right? It's kind of like the McDonald's model, right? And so like Woodford Reserve, you want it to always taste like Woodford Reserve, and Buffalo Trace, you always want it to taste like Buffalo Trace,
Yeah.
and Jack Daniels, and so on and so on and so forth, and those are great. But I've always been fascinated with the ones that deviate a little bit, that do something different, that offer me a flavor profile that isn't the same. I like to be surprised, and so
Yeah.
this particular Maker's Mark here has some surprises in it that my palate is still kind of trying to figure out a little bit, and that's the kind of thing that I really enjoy. So I appreciate the fact that you can find Maker's Mark, behind the bar at every establishment that you go to, but at the same time, they can also create something that has a twist, that has a surprise in it, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
In
100%.
terms of for tonight,
Yep.
I'm fascinated by the entire concept of the Estate Whiskey Alliance, particularly around the idea of the research, and the certification process from the standpoint of giving these estate growers and distillers a platform that they can really stand upon. Because again, I love surprises, I love variation, and I don't want that to go away. And I think that idea of terroir really kind of feeds into that, right? If we're not being careful, if we're not being mindful of the soil that we're growing it in, or the variety of the grain that we're growing, or the water that's being used, or the mineral content, then we're going to start to lose things. And I'm just glad that an organization like the Estate Whiskey Alliance exists to keep that variety in the world and keep it front and center.
There you have it on that one, and I don't think I have anything to add in terms of the bourbon itself, the whiskey itself, because it's just a classic one, and I'm loving the cast strength taste that we have, that velvet smoothness. that richness of flavor. It's a nice addition, like you mentioned, Landon. Same thing. It was 40 or 45 bucks up here in Chicago area, and a really good buy for our collection and for our tasting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as this is kind of a culminate for me. Having you on the show is not only just incredible as in terms of what we do with Beards, Books, and Bourbon, but it's also just something that I just really enjoy because you're my friend, and we have been through a lot together over the past decade or so, both with our daughters, with the family, with the things that we've done service together on, and so we talk a lot about stories on the show, books, we talk about a lot of stories that the bourbon tells us, or the experience, the journey gives us with the bourbon, and that's what this is for me. Like it's kind of a natural flow of what you and I have done together over the years as friends, as family friends, and just a really nice expression to be able to bring you on to something that means so much to Mark and I.
Expression, well done.
Right?
That's
see how I played that one?
Nice.
Having you on the show for us, but then also sharing with you what this actually means to us, so that you know that beyond the Alliance members, there are old goofballs like us sitting in a garage actually exploring this stuff and sharing it with the people that we think want to hear that same story, so that we can amplify the same thing that you're amplifying, and you're on your side of the table, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool space to be in that allows us to do that. So,
yep.
Thank you very, very much for being on the show tonight, my friend. It's we're going to move into the Oops-isode. That brings us to the close of our regular episode, once again with Landon Borders, the director of the Estate Whiskey Alliance out of the University of Kentucky. And we make sure you follow us wherever you download your podcasts. We are all over the place. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, anywhere you download your podcast. Also on social media. Make sure that Amazon Music,
Upcast, Downcast, Incast, Outcast.
Make sure you follow the Estate Whiskey Alliance as well. We are following them, but we are on X, we are on Instagram, we are on all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You guys are on
Facebook.
Instagram, you are on X, you are on Facebook. You can find the Estate Whiskey
We're out
Alliance
there, man.
all over the place.
We're old now, so it's the Facebook.
Facebook, that's probably. That's all right. That's okay. So thank you once again for being with us, Landon. We appreciate your time tonight.
My absolute pleasure, guys. It's been a ball. I love being here, and just really appreciate you guys having me on and let me be a part of this experience. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say to your listeners, they should really ask about Estate Whiskey certified products the next time they're in their local retailer.
Yes,
100%.
Estate Whiskey, estatewhiskey.org, and reach out.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And, remember, everybody, that really doesn't make any difference whether you're on an estate whiskey place or not on an estate whiskey place, or if you're buying a top shelf or if you're buying a bottom shelf whiskey. The key here,
if you're laying on a bottom shelf,
you might be laying on a bottom. Yeah, maybe. Then you might want to kind of. But it doesn't make any difference where you're at. The point is, if you're not listening to Beards, Books, and Bourbon,
you're doing it wrong.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.